The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of that. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty.
Earnestly Podcast here. Robert Genius, Robert Bonnette here with us as always. Big fire on the podcast. What's up, brother?
Hey, good to be here, man. Always.
Want to talk to you about SummerSlam. It's in the books a couple days ago. I actually watched Raw today. I don't typically watch weekly wrestling as much as I used to. I go based on this feel good. If I want to go watch it, but I feel like the shows after the Raws after huge games, huge events, after a WrestleMania, after Royal Rumble, after SummerSlam, probably worth watching to see the reaction to what happened at the big event, of course. But I thought it was a great SummerSlam. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a good show this week. And some weeks I usually have it on, but then I kind of switch between that and my PS5 or sometimes I just flip channels, but I always kind of follow what's going on my Twitter timeline.
Right.
So if there's something about to come on that's I want to check out, then I'll just flip over to it usually on Mondays.
Right. So first match, Logan Paul Ricochet. No surprise that Logan Paul wins that. No surprise there. They obviously moved this match up first because of Logan Paul had to fly to Dallas. It was Dallas to see his brother's match later that night. Jake Paul boxing match. Again, I mean this one didn't disappoint at all. This was a typical two high flyers, two talented guys just getting on in the ring. I thought Ricochet looked. I think even in the loss, Ricochet looked strong.
He did, and I mean, I really dug Logan Paul cheating to win because that's one of my things. Look, heels are not supposed to win fair and square. At least if it's an even matchup between them and whoever, then they're supposed to cheat. Okay, they're bad people. Okay, like you're not supposed to admire them. They're supposed to do despicable, horrible things, and so they should cheat to win. And I'm glad that you did. Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, because I was talking to Duke about this, prior to the show. We did a preview last week, and I said, we said rather that, excuse me, that this feels like a last chance for Ricochet, last gasp for Ricochet's career here at WWE, because everything they try to do hasn't stuck. So like this match felt like, okay, well, if you're gonna make it work, now's the time to do it. And I feel like he delivered in the ring, definitely. And I think this thing has legs with him and Logan.
No, I have a different take than Duke on Ricochet because
okay.
I mean, I think he's found his kind of niche. I mean, he's not going to be a main event wrestler, no. But doing stuff like this and like the match he was in on Raw Monday night, that's his space. I think he's found it, and he'll be fine doing that. No, he's not going to be a main eventer. He's not going to be the world champion. No, but like I think he's found his space here, doing this type of stuff, and I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, he doesn't need a world title. If he's in the U.S. title mix, IC title mix is fine with me. That's good enough. Doesn't be, there's space for a lot of things there. So I'm with you on that one. To me, match of the night was Cody and Rock.
I think overall that was the best one overall.
And I thought, I mean, didn't even consider this, that Brock putting Cody over the way he did at the end, shaking his hand and all that and acknowledging him. I think that's the moment where I realize I think Cody's gonna get the world title at some point. It's a matter of
Oh, he
when.
will at some point. It's just a matter of when and from who.
It's gotta be Roman though, right? It's gotta be Roman at this point.
Um, all right. So here's the thing. All right. Um, they're not going to be on. I don't think they're going to be on the same TV show because you don't want them on the same show because Cody's a big merchandise seller and all that good stuff. You don't want to squander that by putting them both on the same show. Um, and so therefore, unless Cody's going to take Roman's place, and then Roman takes some like really long vacation or something, and Cody just goes over to SmackDown and stays there until Roman comes back,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I just, I know everybody thinks it's going to be. I mean, yeah, I know a lot of people think that's what it'll be. I'm just thinking because me being Mr. Mathematician and all that, a lot of times I always look at these things a lot through kind of logic based thinking and logic. That way, looking at it that way, it's like okay, USA is not going to want Cody and Roman both on SmackDown on the other channel. They're going to want one or the other, and I think Fox doesn't seem to want to let go of Roman for anything.
But is it possible that
So,
you don't need both? Is it possible you could do that without having to do that? Like you can, like if Cody wins, let's say Cody wins Rumble and chooses Roman to face Roman at WrestleMania. That's the way to get it out of that. Being stuck in that brand split kind of thing.
well, it's just, but then they won't be on the same show again. Um, and the problem is having, not having them on the same show.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, because that's the problem because,
Yeah.
because whichever network doesn't have one of, because one network will have both of them on the same show and then the other one won't have either one. And I don't think either Fox or NBC or USA would go for that to just not have either one. Um, that's the only hang up. And so I mean, now just from looking at it just from a pure wrestling fan standpoint, yeah, it does look like Cody is going to beat Roman. Um, but if it doesn't happen, I'm just saying if it doesn't happen, it'll be because of some network stuff.
Things outside the WWE universe that
Yeah,
influence outside the WWE universe, I say. I mean, that makes
yeah.
sense. That makes perfect sense. Brock going away for a little while, right? I imagine, right?
Yeah, and he needs to because this is like the longest continuous stretch he's been on TV,
Yeah.
and um, even he has diminishing returns if he's there, if he's just there, without going away.
Yeah. And I think that he's actually better utilized that way. Honestly, I don't want him on TV every week. He's better to be a part timer. He's better to be a part timer. He's because his input to the company at this point now is more effective when he's there as a okay. I'm gone a couple months. I'll come back and when I need to, and then I'm put a guy over, whatever it may be, and he's done that. He put Cody over, and and there's that. I think the way Brock is being used has been used for the last couple of years is the way you should use him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because like when his music hits, you're supposed to get kind of like, oh shit, you know.
Yeah,
And if he's there every week forever, you lose. That starts to fade even for him.
yeah. He's an attraction at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Dan. All right. You had the battle royal. LA Knight won a battle royal. Um, eliminating Sheamus at the end. I'm actually kind of shocked he still won this because I remember I was making my picks. Prior, I had Ciampa winning it. I had other guys I was considering winning it. I'm not saying. Look, I'm glad he won the whole thing, but I feel like LA didn't really didn't really need to win because he's already over.
Yeah. It's just I think it's one of those things because they've been accused many a time in the past of just being too clever or just not doing the quick and easy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whereas like look the easy playing it straight here is just have him win the thing. But in the past, they've been accused of just like being a little too clever for their own good,
Right.
and having somebody else win, and then somebody else throws them out. They'll get the heat on them and all of that, and then but what happens a lot of times is that it doesn't work out that way. Instead of the person getting heat on them, people just get mad at the booker for doing
Of
it. And
course.
so I think in this case, it was good to just play it straight, have him win it, because he needs to win something. And well, now and looks like me like I finally got some type of plan for him now with him and Miz going at it. But
But I think it's great. I think that's gonna be a great feud.
yeah,
They can give you 3-4 months of that.
yeah. And then the thing is, I think my advice to people is just be patient, because the last thing you do is to just because people wanting to win the U.S. title from Austin Theory. It's like, okay, but when that if that happens, there needs to be a story to it,
Yeah. Now
right?
what?
Yeah, and yeah, because I mean, if you just have him win the U.S. title because he has a bunch of, he's getting a bunch of loud reactions right now. If that's the only reason you do it, if you don't build a story to it, if you just say, okay, well, he's over, let's just put the title on him. Yeah, then what happens afterwards?
Yeah. Totally agree with that.
I think winning this here is good though.
And again, there's money in a chase. There's money and there's value in a chase. Going through the journey. So
Yeah,
when you do get to the mountaintop, then it's well received and it's well earned and it's also appreciated when you get there. Not just give to the title to the guy just because he's over. Okay, no, let the process play out. That's how you book wrestling. That's how you've been. This is how all the greats have done it. Is slow build. But here's my question with you on LA Knight. Because I think his value in the mid card is tremendous. I think he can make the U.S. and IC titles matter if they decide to make him a contender for those titles. Could you see LA Knight as a world title guy down the road?
no, um,
I'm the same way too. I mean, I want to, but I just don't see it right now. Maybe down the road I can. Right now, I don't see it.
I don't at all. And look, it's long past time for wrestling fans to, or at least the IWC, to just be happy with people like him being entertaining and and whatnot. Like, we can't have this one track mind for everybody. Everybody who gets over needs to be world champion. Everybody who shows be really good in the ring, well, they need to be world champion. No, no, okay. 'Cause look, just like a real life sports championship, the importance of the world championship is that so many people don't win it. Right?
Yeah,
That's what makes it important. That's what makes it a big deal. Um, like you got you got Hall of Fame players in other sports who did not win one, and you got Hall of Fame players in other sports who never even played in the finals, right? That's one of the things that makes winning a championship that big of a deal and that important. So everybody who gets hot, everybody who gets popular should not win one. Everybody who's a great wrestler should not win one. And so I don't see it with him, because I mean, there's no way on earth you would have booked him to beat Roman Reigns ever, ever.
no, I can't see that.
Um, you're not going to book him to beat Cody if Cody's world champion. Um, and would you book him to beat Seth Rollins?
Depends. Sometimes the guy's over before.
Would you book him to beat Seth Rollins today?
Not right now. No, not right now.
Okay, and so that's three people right there. I mean, if Brock Lesnar was one of the two champions, would you book him to beat Brock Lesnar?
No,
Okay,
not right
so
now.
we're already
Anyway.
up to four. We're already up to four people that you would not book him to win it beat.
But I do wonder if we will feel differently about that in a year from now. Let's say a year from now, there's momentum. This whole idea of him being a one trick pony, it continues to. He's still this hot. This time next year, maybe perception changes.
I still wouldn't book him to beat Roman or Cody even a year from now.
Mm,
I don't see anything. I don't see anything can transpire between now and a year from now that would change my mind about that.
Okay. I'm with you also too on the same thing, but I'm also open to maybe in a year from now, 2 years from now, like he's still red hot and maybe it translates. I don't know, but I do think for the mid card he matters, and I think he's making mid card matter in a way we haven't seen in a long time.
And
Um,
look, they need that on SmackDown. By the way,
say again.
they need that on SmackDown. They need somebody who keep the audience interested outside of the bloodline.
Right. I agree. All right. Shayna Baszler beats Ronda Rousey. MMA rules match. Obviously, this sounds like Ronda Rousey is done with the WWE for how long we don't know. Some say forever. Some say maybe temporarily. We'll see. This is easily probably the worst match of the night. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. It is what it is with these two. The job was to get Shayna over. I don't know if that actually happened. We'll see. What do you think?
All right. So, like people who are like MMA aficionados, I've read some stuff that some of them have said. They were really high on it.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't the place to do this kind of match because most of the people who watch WWE are not here for shoot style MMA fights. And so the crowd didn't care. And also, well, that's the biggest thing. Like the crowd just didn't care. And this was not the kind of match to make people care.
No.
And right now, it does look like people are just. It looks like a pretty large portion of the audience is just checked out on Ronda now. And I don't think they ever really checked in that much on Shayna Baszler. I personally like Shayna. I think I like
Me
Shayna
too.
a lot. But this was not the thing to really get her over. And then on top of that, I mean, well, the problem with her booking wise is always that all right, they build her up to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
and it always ends with her losing a title shot. And like, I don't know who necessarily. I'm not even saying who she should have beaten. In any of these title matches that she's gotten, but it just that's where it always goes. And you know, so now they have her in a position of looking strong again, and we'll see. But then, and because right now, I mean, if she gets a title match against Rhea Ripley, she's not winning. Um,
Oh no.
and that's the thing, right? I mean, so it's just, I mean, I like her a lot, and I think not only have they booked her to lose in just stupid kind of ways. That's like how many times has she had to clutch on somebody, then they roll through, and then she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't get her shoulders up. I mean, she's lost that way like a million times, and it's just they don't care. I mean, and they've shown to me that they don't think enough of her to ever give her that next step. Um, but then also at the same time, she's unfortunately gotten the boring chant, during her matches at times.
To me, she lost momentum from the time the pandemic happened. When she came in, they brought her. They put her on top, put her over at Elimination Chamber in 2020. I thought she was set to beat Becky, and then they put Becky to win, clean over her. And I think from that point on, she was dead woman walking from that point on. Because to me,
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
hoping they would use it. Because to me, the way they used her is to use her as a monster, this big monstrous, tough heel, and she's losing her first major match at WrestleMania. I mean, to me, that's set the table for a bad run, in my opinion, anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that definitely took a lot of air out of the balloon.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, then a Survivor Series before that, she won the match. But then, Becky got up and beat her up right afterwards.
Yeah,
And
made no sense.
yeah, and then she beat her up right after the bell and then stood over her as the show went off the air.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that right there is that started it as far as cutting her legs out from under her.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, they do the match at WrestleMania. And, Becky beats her there. And it says, she beat her clean right there. And then, so at that point is, I think that's one of those things that, me and Ray Cash have argued about, about wins and losses mattering and not mattering. I believe that if you present somebody like a loser, the audience is going to believe that they're a loser.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. Win losses do matter and don't matter depending on how your presentation is.
yeah. And and at what point, and timing, so for this case with Shayna, you know, again, she got her big match and then she lost.
Yeah.
And it just, to me, that was a message sending defeat, basically.
Yeah. All right. Next one, IC title match. We had Gunther beat Drew McIntyre. No surprise there. This is a feud that's probably going to go on for at least for another few months. I think. I think eventually Gunther will lose that title. Within the next couple months, I think. And I think Drew will beat him. But I just felt that SummerSlam was way too early to do it. There's more money than Chase, so no surprise here.
I was surprised he beat him clean. I thought that he was going to have his guys.
Me too. Me too.
That's the only thing I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I don't know how you come back from that. Um, so
I think WWE's invested in him breaking out Honky's record.
yeah, and see, to me, so we've talked about this in the Modern Wrestling podcast before. I think a lot of just modern day fans don't understand what the point of that whole reign was, and
Honky's reign.
yeah, and they're just fixated on the fact that he was not a great wrestler, and and they're just kind of upset about that all the time. Like how why was he champion for over a year? He said he sucked. He sucked.
They don't get it. You need to watch the entire reign. Like Duke said it best on my podcast last week. Honky Tonk Man is not only one of the greatest IC champions of all time. In his opinion, he is the greatest IC champion of all time because the guys got over. He got over Warrior. He got over Savage. He got over some of the biggest guys in the company, and those feuds were fantastic. And given the fact that he was getting so much heat at a time where the number one heel in the company was Andre the Giant, in the middle of one of the biggest history of the company against Hogan, and somehow this guy was able to steal attention from you. That says a lot.
Yeah,
Character matters.
yeah, and and the whole point was the title reign was he was being chased by these Hall of Famers, Savage, Steamboat, Jake the Snake,
Yeah.
Brutus Beefcake. He was being chased by all of those guys. Any one of those guys should have just beaten him, any night, and he kept escaping, and and he would get disqualified, or he would leave and get counted out, or sometimes he would cheat and win, and it just kept it going and kept it going and kept it going. And you got more and more upset about it because the fact that this guy was the Intercontinental Champion and he had those guys going after him, and he kept finding ways to escape.
Yeah,
and that was the whole point. That was the whole story to it. And again, he had real heat, and it drew money. Um, and then when it finally ended, it ended in the best way possible because the ultimate somebody finally got him cornered, and where he couldn't escape, and they just ran him over
through his own stupidity.
Yeah,
Give me someone out here. I don't give a crap who it is.
yeah, and then that was it was the perfect ending to it. And look, I think Gunther's great, but this title reign he has does not have that type of story to it. He's having good matches with people and he's beating them. It's like, and that's like when you want to sit down and watch a wrestling match, then that's great. All right. If you just want to, when you just want to sit down and watch matches, but I mean, yeah, there still really isn't a story to this title reign.
No, there's no story. I think that's the only thing lacking about this. And to Duke's point too, also on that podcast, Who has he put over in this reign? He hasn't put over anybody in this reign yet. But to my
Well, he doesn't
defense
have
was
to until
my defense was that he's not getting anybody over because he's one still moving up. He's one still getting over. He's not in a position to get people over just yet. Not yet,
yeah,
anyway.
and so because they're still at. I mean, and that's the thing, right? And so he's gonna fight Chad Gable next. He's gonna beat. We know he's gonna beat Chad Gable. We know that.
You sure?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing. So it's just and see, well, they had gotten Sheamus over
Mm-hmm.
back. I mean, well, they got Sheamus back over by when they were feuding, and that was a time they could have pulled the trigger. And I know Duke disagrees, but um, that was they had gotten to a point because they had people believing in Sheamus getting the one last title that he hadn't won yet,
Mm-hmm.
and they had something really good going there. But then they just,
Then nah.
well, I think because they weren't thinking about that. They're thinking about Gunther, and they weren't thinking about anything else there. So I think they just didn't consider. I don't think they even considered Sheamus beating him, even though they got everything to the point where it would have been a great moment to do it. But they're locked in on Gunther and getting him to wherever it is they want to get him.
Right.
And so I mean, and the result of that is, right now it was weird because he wins all of his matches, but then the other two guys, Kaiser and Vici, they get beat most of the time. and,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, now they finally the last couple of weeks, um, Kaiser has been winning. So I think somebody finally realized that okay, we can't have those two guys losing all the time because then they'd have no credibility, right?
Right. Right. All right. Next one. Seth Rollins retains over Finn Balor. That was a fun match though. So, lots of chaos at the end too. I really thought Finn was going to win this match. It looked like everything was all set for Finn to win. The whole 7 years since he got screwed by Seth and the injury and all that stuff. It was all coming to plan, and then the whole chaos of the briefcase and Damian Priest hanging outside the ring and Seth still holds on. I don't know. I'm shocked. This is the one match that shocked me.
I mean, I figured Seth was going to win. I thought that the last few minutes they're doing a little too much, man. Because all right, so the rest of the Judgment Day came in the ring,
Mm-hmm.
and then Damian Priest hit Seth Rollins. He punched him, and then that didn't do it. That got 2 count, and then Finn Balor hit the coup de grace on Seth. That only got a 2 count, and then Seth hit the stomp on Balor, and that only got a 2 count. And I'm just like, y'all doing too much. This is too much.
Just too much.
I mean, and then and then he got the stomp on Balor on top of the briefcase, which now that part I was fine with, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because I mean, I knew like the whole point of the finish was going to be to cause some more tension between Finn and
Right.
Priest. I just thought that they were doing a little too much before that, and but it was a good match. Now I guess for my personal taste, Seth and Finn are a little too similar
Mm-hmm.
for me.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, I mean, I tend to zone out when they wrestle each other.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, again, I'm not. That's not a knock on them. That's just that's just me. So
Right. How about this one? Well, we had Bianca Belair win the match over Asuka and Charlotte Flair.
yeah.
That part shocked me because I actually had Charlotte win the match to your happiness, of course. But the Io Sky, cashing in was not a surprise. I had Io cashing in, but I had him cashing over on Charlotte, not on Bianca.
Well, thank God that didn't happen because the last thing that she's already gonna look, she had the briefcase cashed in on 3 different times already.
I heard about that a couple days ago. I was like, whoa, she has wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and one of them was after just winning the title too. So
Yeah.
yeah, we don't need to do that again. Right? We don't,
But Bianca, faking that injury was pretty.
I thought, yeah, she fooled everybody, man, and so kudos to her for pulling that off. Um,
I will say Bianca. I'm glad she got cashed in because I love her to death. I do think if had she won the title and just kept it and been champion through all the way through, I really feel that the IWC was all shitting on her because I don't think she needs it right now. I think
well,
it's
okay,
okay
I think
a couple months to shake up a little bit.
I think well, I think it would have been too soon because she just lost it.
Yeah, I agree. Right.
Um, and for her to win it back this quickly and just go back to being champion again, and then yeah, it's just it kind of it makes the last month. Then it's kind of like, well, why she lose it? Why she even lose it then?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. It
so I
is
think
clear
it's
the Oscars reign has been kind of meh. Much I love her.
well because I know some people were not happy about that. Some people on the internet were not happy because they were, like some people felt like she was playing back burner to Charlotte and Bianca during this whole couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, I mean, it is what it is. It's just that's kind of her space. I mean, and I know some people don't want to hear that, but the other times she's been champion, she does end up taking a back seat to whether it's Becky and Charlotte or it's this case Charlotte and Bianca or I mean, um,
No, I'm with you.
yeah, I
I'm
mean
with you.
look, at this point that's kind of what it is. I mean, um, and I don't know, tell anybody who's who just gets really upset about that. I mean, I don't know. It's just is what it is.
I'm curious how this EO thing goes. I think there's something to play with here because I think with the EO and damage control and all that, there's the stuff there they can play with. So I'm not mad that she got the title. Honestly, I think there's something you can work with that for a few months.
Yeah, and then
Especially with Bailey involved.
yeah, and I mean ultimately we're going to end up I think with Bianca and Charlotte fighting over the title
Yeah,
ultimately.
right.
But this is the time of year where you take a flyer on someone else.
Last year's Liv Morgan.
Yeah, and then Carmella back in 2018.
Yeah,
Nikki ASH in
2 years ago.
2021.
Yeah,
So this kind of summer, fall is kind of that's where you take a flyer on somebody who's not one of the normal people holding one of those belts, and then you see how it goes, right? And then this is the time to do it.
yeah, I'm with you. All right, finally, this is the last match here, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
last match. Of course, Tribal Chief
yeah.
remains, head of the table, beats Jey Uso. Nothing surprised me here at all. Not to brag about that. I called Jimmy turning on Jay weeks ago. All that the day he got hurt on the quote unquote hurt during the episode of Raw or SmackDown, where it was. I said he's turning on Jay at SummerSlam. I called that. No surprises here. Great match nonetheless. A lot of shenanigans. And I think also even with Jimmy turning on Jay, there's still a lot of questions to be answered. We're not even sure if Jimmy's still going to partner up with Roman. It can still be where this thing's still fractured. I mean,
And
even
that's
him
what I
and
think
Solo
this.
have issues. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
um, because look, Jimmy didn't. We didn't see Jimmy patch things up with Roman or
No.
with Solo. So I think we're heading in a direction now where obviously Jimmy and Jay are going to be beefing with each other,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think Jimmy has any time for Roman either. I think we're going to see that on Friday. I think be
Yeah.
Roman's going to be expecting him to, come back into the fold, and he's going to be like, nah, I ain't doing that.
Man, knock, man. I'm good.
Yeah. So I
Great
think for
match
the
nonetheless,
next,
though.
yeah, and now it ran a little long for my taste. It was almost 40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that's not even including Roman's entrance.
Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, overall, good match. Did you prefer this one or the first one 3 years ago in the Hell in a Cell?
Um, I
The Hell in a
think I
Cell
prefer.
had more shock. The Hell in a Cell had more shock value because we didn't. Jey Uso really impressed everybody about what he did in that match. But I
Yeah,
mean,
and I think if you're asking which one am I more likely to go back and watch, probably that one.
yeah, 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 with you there. Um, I think now with this, I think Roman will now, you know, probably lighten his work a little bit for the next couple months, and yeah, why the entire bloodline feud each other. I mean, the whole thing, there's still Solo and him on the same page either, and all that to talk about. So there's a lot of things there. Um, but yeah, all of it, a good show. I gave the show a B plus, A minus, honestly.
Yeah. Now I'd say I'd put it in B range because for me, like a lot of the matches were long,
Yeah,
and the show itself was for me was too long. It was like well over 4 hours, and man, that's a lot.
yeah, it really is. It really
Um,
is.
and that's you know one of the things that we've kind of given Hunter praise for was keeping these shows kind of not running too long. And because but in this case, that totally went out the window.
Hmm.
'Cause, when it runs, um, see, when you keep it nice and tight, then um, it's just it's easier to get through, and also whatever little criticisms you may have of this match or some other match, you're not quite as harsh. But with this kind of marathon kind of show here, it exacerbates anything you might have found wrong with any of the matches. It just kind of exacerbates it. So yeah, I give this a B.
Yeah, and as I'm noticing as I get older, there's way more value in shorter shows. Honestly, people
Yeah,
tend
and
to
in
fan
this
of these.
case, I mean, now a lot of the matches had long run times.
Hmm.
The triple threat was 20 minutes.
Yeah,
Cody and Brock was like 17 or 18. Seth and Finn was like 17 or 18. And Logan and Ricochet was like 17 or 18. And so there was that. And then the main event was like 35 minutes. But they wasted a lot of time between matches. 'Cause even with these matches running kind of long, it's still um, it was like 2.5 hours if you add up all the match time.
yeah,
But the show was over 4 hours, which means what the heck did we spend the other hour and a half doing?
true.
Um,
And there was no other other things that happened. There was no Grayson Waller thing. There was no other vignettes on that. You know what I'm saying? It was
yeah. So it wasn't even that. There wasn't any backstage fights
no.
and there were no big returns. Um, so I'm just kind of wondering, like, so what the heck happened to you know make this thing take so damn long, even with
No,
the
I'm with you.
longer matches.
No, I'm with you, man. 100.
Yeah,
percent
that's why I give
All
it a
right.
B.